this week. The competition aims to bridge the divide between high art, contemporary culture and the vast population of South Africans who use public transport every day. To tell us more about this competition, we joined in studio by Kalnisha Singh. She's the director at the SA Taxi Foundation. Good morning to you, Kalnisha, and welcome to Morning Live.
Hi, Felisa. It's nice to be here.
Thank you very much indeed for coming through. Now, why did you feel the need to come up with this initiative?
It's very interesting, and I get this question a lot. 2 years ago, when we initiated the concept, we were faced with a very real reality that the taxi industry is largely misunderstood in South Africa. We have a wide infrastructure of taxis driving most of South Africans around, and yet the industry itself still holds very negative perceptions. And similarly, the arts is laden by what we call elitist baggage. We have an industry that has such great potential in the economy and for society, and we aren't really tapping into or using the opportunity to exploit, in economic terms, the artistic industry. Similarly, the economic value of the taxi industry is largely misunderstood, and we saw it as a nice opportunity to marry these two very misunderstood industries and kind of just see what happens.
Exactly, that's what came into my mind when I read this, like taxi and art, how do they come? But tell us more, why specifically art? What kind of messages will these minibus taxis be carrying?
So what we see is that the messages currently, or the messages that are laden in the minibus taxi industry, the public perception is very negative and very poor. And it's not reflective of the reality. The reality is that the taxi industry drives most of the South African economy. It drives most of the South African people. You and I are typically frustrated by the one or two taxis we encounter on a regular basis that disregard road rules and the like. But the reality remains that 80% of the taxis on the road do drive safely, do take their businesses seriously. And so we thought, all of us have, some sort of social connection with art. You either appreciate it or you don't. You understand it or you don't. And it's the same reality that the taxi industry faces every day. I think art for us as a business was a very personal decision. Most of us at SA Taxi appreciate art. We understand the economic value of art. We also understand that from an economic perspective, it has not yet reached its full potential in the South African economy.
And I believe the message here is basically to say that not all taxi drivers are bad drivers.
So that's my primary messaging. We have this great responsibility as being the largest formal sort of business working for the taxi industry to start changing public perception around the taxi industry.
But then, Kalnisha, I think this is also, an exposure for artists, especially those who cannot afford to portray their work at galleries.
Definitely. So we wanted to bridge this gap. We have a large volume of commuters and of South Africans who don't have access to the art, but would, given the means, appreciate artistic industries, and that would obviously create the demand for emerging artists' work. It'll help grow the artistic industries. And that sort of gap, that was the gap we were trying to address, actually. Let's grow the artistic industries by exposing it to new audiences. You know that in South Africa we have this growing middle class, and I think the investment opportunity that the art presents is not utilized and is not understood. And we were trying to just bridge that gap.
And how does the competition itself work? Are there specifics that you look at?
Yes. So the very first technical specification is that the artist has to be older than 21 years old. And then in the submission criteria, the artist obviously submits an original piece of art, as well as the artist's translation of that design or that artwork into a design decal that will be wrapped onto a taxi if that artist proceeds to be a winner. The reason for this concept, though, was that in order to grow the artistic industries, artists need to understand that there will come a need at some point in their career where they have to address and understand and unpack a commercial brief. Most artists, in reality, will probably find work in the creative industries, in advertising, in marketing, in design, and that's the bridge we were trying to address.
But then are they showing interest?
They are showing interest. So last year, in the initial run of the Art Award. We had few entries as we expected, because there's lots of misconceptions, I think, generally about, displaying their work on a taxi and what would it mean for them as a reputation. But this year, our entries doubled. I think the social perception of the taxi industry is improving. I think artists are now acknowledging the opportunity that this sort of platform gives them. So I think responsiveness from the industry has been great, as responsiveness from the taxi industry has also been great. We have taxi operators calling in wanting art on their taxis.
I can imagine. Well, we're going to have to leave it right there, but thank you so much, Kalnisha, for your time.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you very much. There you have it. That is Kalnisha Singh. She is the director at the SA Taxi Foundation. We're taking a break. When we come back,